Hey, business building warrior. Welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. I'm your host for the opening segment today, Jim Cockrum. If you're new around here, let me just introduce a couple things to you. We've got hundreds of podcast episodes that are interviews with the successful students from the Proven Amazon course. There's also a free Facebook group where you can come see 74,000 of us hanging out all day, every day, talking about how to use the internet creatively to launch and grow the multiple income stream businesses of our dreams. And this podcast is a big part of what we offer this community when it comes to answering common questions about selling on Amazon, growing an e-commerce business, having multiple streams of income, etc. We start about 95% of all new students in the exact same place because it is the lowest hanging fruit business model that we're aware of in the entire e-commerce universe. Now, you may already have some great momentum. Maybe you've already got a great business. Maybe you've already got some of the things rocking online that are working well for you. We still want you to be a part of this community, regardless of what you're doing, because again, we see the internet as a multiple income stream opportunity. But if you want to follow a predictable path that's been proven and time tested for over 20 years, that's the only income that I've had for my family is my multiple streams of income online. We've got about 60 coaches who follow the systems that we teach and teach them to thousands of students in this community. And we're so honored to have been doing this twice as long as anyone that I know of, coaching e-commerce very successfully. I mentioned silentjimdotcom. That's the only website you're going to need to get access to the Proven Amazon course, our free Facebook group. If you want to book a call with us and talk to us about your business, maybe you have some questions about coaching with us, getting some one-on-one attention from a proven leader on our team who's built a beautiful business. Hey, all those resources are right there. But today's episode, I'm going to bring on two great coaching leaders from our team. They make an appearance about once a week or so around here. I'm talking about, of course, Brian and Robin Joy Olson. They've built a beautiful business using the strategies we teach in the Proven Amazon course. They offered to start helping some other people learn those things as well. They've quickly produced many great success stories in this community, and they've risen to a coaching team leader, which means they've got coaches who work under them. And we coach many, many students. Actually, a little bit of trivia. For over the past 20 years, we've coached nearly 10,000 students in our coaching program. Brian and Robin Joy have been with us, not the whole time, obviously. There's only a couple of us that have been around that long, but they've been with us a good while, and they have some observations today about some of the typical questions they get, some of the common scenarios they see when people are ramping up into the business models that we teach here. And we've been doing coaching very differently for many years. So before I turn them loose for their episode, which I've already heard, I wanted to point out a couple things that I think prop up the reason why we've lasted 20 years in an industry where most people who claim to be able to teach e-commerce and coaching and those, strategies for business success, most people who do that, I've seen them come and go over the past 20 years. Countless people come and go. They haven't survived more than a couple years. They haven't found a sustainable way to continue to produce high quality success stories and fuel a machine where leaders are being produced constantly. Well, we've done that here. What is it that makes it different? And I think a lot of what we have going on here is the fact that we treat coaching the way Brian and Robin Joy are about to describe it. You see, coaching someone to success in our community isn't a matter of making sure that they get the workbook in the mail and then fill in the blanks and do everything we tell them to do according to one set plan. No, you have unique opportunities and connections and experiences. Your financial situation, how much margin you have, and your schedule is going to vary from person to person. It's going to be a very unique plan that's required for you to get from where you are now to where you'd like to be in your business. And Robin, Joy, and Brian point that out today. They talk about how different all of their clients are. Some of them go full speed ahead, some of them a little slower. But in all cases, there's one thing that they're going to point out today that they like to emphasize, and I completely agree with doing that. It's not, hey, what are you going to teach me today when you get on your coaching sessions? It's, hey, now that I've learned and established that I understand the principles that you've been teaching me and I've put them into practice and I'm demonstrating competency and results with what we've learned so far, now it's time to see what other doors of opportunity are open to me and discuss those. Which one gets me to my goals the fastest? So Amazon selling, it looks a lot alike from seller to seller to seller if you're brand new. We love the replens business model. Matter of fact, I love it so much, we do it a lot. Few $1,000s a day of my business online is the Amazon replens business model, just the way we teach it. Matter of fact, I've posted over the past couple of weeks about 30 examples of items that we're selling in my account in real time, showing the exact keep a graph, what led us to make the decision, how many other sellers there are, where we are priced against those other sellers. People are giving us some great feedback. If you want to get into our Facebook group and see those, you can see those examples in the images that have been posted over the past few weeks as of the time of this podcast episode. We show you all the details so you can get used to looking at a nice Keepa chart and deciding which inventory is worth testing. If you don't know what Keepa is, by the way, go listen to podcast episode 369. It's a great episode that will introduce you to why we love that tool so much. It's $20 a month, and it really gives you some insights that no other tools do. Well, I think that's enough of an introduction from me. One little last thing before we turn it over to Brian and Robin Joy. If you haven't circled the dates, May 23rd through 25th of 2024, which is coming at us fast, circle those dates. Plan on being in Orlando, Florida, May 23rd through 25th. Maybe coming in a few days early, staying a few days late even. A lot of people do that. We're going to a nice resort in Orlando, right by SeaWorld. We've got ridiculously inexpensive hotel arrangements. If you want to bring the family, have a good time, hang out for 3 days with your fellow business building warriors who listen to this podcast. Last year, we had about 700 people. We're expecting that or more this year. It's going to be a fantastic event. We'd love to have you there to soak up and learn all the latest strategies, but just be around other people who are doing this business. You can't do business in isolation. You need to surround yourself with fellow business building warriors. We'd love to be a part of your journey. So circle those dates. The website for that event is The Proven Conference. 3 words, theprovenconference.com. Hope to see you in Orlando in May. Hey, let's jump over and see what Brian and Robin Joy have for us today. Enjoy this.
Welcome back to Silent Sales Machine Radio. We are your co-hosts. I'm Brian.
And I'm Robin Joy.
And this is Coach's Corner.
Hi, everybody.
Let's talk about some of these common questions that we get.
Yeah, that's kind of how this podcast guest hosting started, with some of the common questions that we have. So what do we got today, Brian?
So I get this question frequently, and you do too, which is, okay, what's the curriculum? Like, okay, coach, we met last week and you taught me some things. Now, what are you going to teach me this week?
Right. As if we're going through a curriculum or a syllabus.
Right.
Yeah. And what do you say to that when they ask you that?
Well, what I say to them is, did you do your homework last week? That really, that's going to depend on what is the next step.
Right. It really is usually a situation where you have to accomplish one thing to be ready for the next thing. So
it's custom. So let's just talk a few minutes about the coaching program, right? This whole approach is that it's a custom approach. There isn't a white paper that says, or a book that says, okay, this is how you do it.
Right.
There's the PAC, the Proven Amazon course, and this is an ever evolving knowledge, encyclopedia of knowledge about how to do certain things. But you'll notice that even some things that were published in there 2 years ago aren't necessarily spot on today like they were 2 years ago.
There's some aging sometimes.
And what happens is we get people at all different levels, right?
Yes.
So from can't spell computer to computer scientists, data scientists.
Yes.
From
business owners to bartenders.
Right. From unlimited capital to shoestring budget.
Yes. We have all kinds.
From I have nothing but time to I have, the smallest amount of time imaginable.
15 minutes every, twice a day.
Yeah. And, And so all levels of experience.
17-year-olds and 80-year-olds and everything in between.
Yeah. Lives in the same city that we live in, or
across the world,
lives internationally.
Yes.
Right. So the answer to what are you going to teach me next, coach? It really depends on where we're starting out, because this is custom. It's a custom approach to what we do. And we like to take stock, get a check of where each person or couple is when we start working with them.
Yeah. So one of the first things that we do is get to know who we're working with and where they are, because we don't want you to be where we are. We want to come to where you are and get you to where we are, where you want to be. Really, your goals may not be the same as our goals. We want to help you meet your goals.
Right. It's not like you test in, like you have to test in and be at a certain level of knowledge or money or anything like that to get in. So we do truly go, and all the coaches do this, not just us.
Right.
The coaching program goes and meets you where you are.
Right.
Determines, what your level of knowledge, experience, capital, time, all these things are. And then we work with you individually or as a couple to then progress your business forward. So when I get the question, okay, what are you going to teach me next? Really, the answer is, well, did you do what we talked about last week?
Yeah.
Or last month?
We already accomplished what we set out to do already. And then what's next? Yep, that's a good point.
So, and sometimes they'll get, well, we didn't really have time to do any of that. So why don't you just teach me what's next? And I got to admit, in the early days of me being a coach in this program, I would tend to do that. And what I learned over time, and you probably picked up on this pretty quickly, was that...
Well, I learned everything from you, Brian. I got to watch you first and everything.
Well, and you were my first coaching client.
Yes, I was.
Right? But so it was a little bit different with us. So it was like, okay, I have to go do this today, and you're going to spend all day sourcing, right? Because you had a goal of finding 8 test-worthy ASINs. We didn't call them that at the time, but every day.
Every day.
Right.
And every day we had kind of a different system at the time, but we've developed that over the years. But
right. And we knew that if you could achieve that goal by X date, then you wouldn't have to go back to work.
And I didn't go back
to work. And you didn't go back to work.
I'm
right?
very proud of that.
Fist bump for some of that. But it helped that we had, very open and honest lines of communication. And so I remember I would come home and you'd be all excited about these things that you found. And you'd say, check out this one. I say, oh no, that's a 2-pack and you sourced a 1-pack.
Yes.
Or check out this one.
So,
oh no.
No, when that happens with one of my clients and they come and say, what about this one? And I go, oh, it's a 2-pack.
Oh,
double that.
You sourced a 14-ounce, but it's a 16-ounce listing.
I don't know how that feels.
Oh no, you sourced the beige one, but the listing is for white. And there is a difference.
Yes.
Oh no, you sourced a 12-pack and it's only a 9-pack.
Right.
You can't do that, right? It's got to be exact. And so I got to come home and cheer you on and burst your bubble at the same time.
Yes.
And
you somehow kept me going.
Well, and we did this for each other too, because then I would dig in and start sourcing, then we would give it back and forth to each other to like spot check, be the quality check of that, right? Make sure that we weren't overlooking some things, because it happens to all of us. We're like, oh, I got this one. I know exactly what it is. You send it in and then all of a sudden you either sell one, or before you sell one, you realize, oh, that was the wrong thing.
Yes. Hopefully it's before you sell one and you can close the listing. It happens. It has happened to us. We know how that feels. And so then we can help that it's okay. We'll get you through that.
I like to say I haven't found anything that's not undoable in Amazon, except getting a bad customer review. And there are even ways you can try and get that undone. But
sometimes you can. But unless you're out, and Jim says this all the time, unless you're out to actually break the law and do bad things, it's hard to really have a permanent solution, issue that you can't get past.
Right.
We haven't seen it happen. And Jim talks about he's maybe seen it happen just a few times. So
the point of the whole question, though, right? What are we going to cover next? It really is. This is like a lab class. It's not a lecture class where you just show up, twice a week for
we
for
could
12
just record
weeks.
that.
Right. Yeah. That would just be in a course that you could buy.
Right.
This is interactive. It's participatory, and it's dependent on your progress as to what is next.
Right. And one of the great things when you get a coach in this program is that these are people who have already found success in what they're showing you and teaching you and helping you to find. It's not just someone who's learned how to get through a curriculum and what the next steps are.
Right.
So that's really encouraging to me. I also, I want to bring up at this point, we're talking about the different, from business owners to bartenders, different people and the different spectrum and everything in between that we see. We didn't own a business at the time that we started to. We have owned several businesses. We've talked about that before, and none of them as successful as this one. But we also talked about the fact that we built careers before we started this business. And we talk about how our own head, we used to talk about this all the time. Our own heads are what's getting in our ways. Sometimes, you you have an MBA, I have a master's in leadership, business leadership, and we have just been schooled too much, I think, to be able to accept the things that we've had to learn to accept. Sometimes, and I've heard Jim say it before, sometimes the more education or the fancier the education, the harder it is to just build this simple business.
And it is so simple, right?
Yes.
And it's easy and conceptually
Yes.
to understand that, and it's fairly easy to execute. The longest journey in this business, is right between these 2 points.
That's right. And we're pointing at the sides of our heads for those who are listening. Yes.
And the hardest challenge to overcome is this being able to identify a test-worthy ASIN. And, I've said this before, pattern recognition. And I love that Jim has been showing the keep charts for so many.
That's been so great.
I think he's put 20 out there, 20 classic examples of ASINs that you may have completely overlooked, and because you're like, oh, look at the buy boxes, I'm only going to make $1.50 or whatever, or maybe it's only break even. But if you test it, you will find not 100% of the time, maybe not even 80% of the time, but a fair percentage of the time that if it's on a fast enough moving ASIN, can sell units above the buy box.
Absolutely. And we have clients coming and telling us this. People in the Kickstart group are telling me this all the time. I sold it, and there's no way that I ever thought I should be able to sell at that price, but I put it at that price, and guess what? It sold. It's sold.
It's sold.
It happens all the time. We hear the stories all the time. So thank you, Jim, for posting those things. And if you're not involved and keeping an eye on the My Silent Team Facebook group, you should check in once in a while. There's some super stuff happening on there. People are showing their success and sharing and encouraging us. That just gets me fired up.
I know. We love it. But one of the places we see people make the biggest mistake trying to build their replens business is that they want to sell more units of fewer ASINs.
Right.
This is, as I've heard Jim call it before, the inch wide, mile deep approach.
Yes.
Okay.
And it does seem like that would be easier. It would be if that worked. That would be an easier way to do it.
And
unfortunately, we haven't seen it work.
There may be a time and a place for that.
Yes.
But in the beginning, in the early days, while you're still cutting your teeth and understanding
building the foundation,
getting understanding the rhythm of the beast, that's not the time to go inch wide, mile deep. Right. But these are the same people who will say that the game is getting harder.
Sure.
Right. And we all know that all businesses are hard. Right. And prices tank, and that's why they want to do wholesale or some other strategy.
Sure, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to conceptually, at least. I say sometimes that, if there were ASINs that I just could tell if they were profitable or not, laying out there on the street, and we could all just go pick them up, then this place would be oversaturated. Then probably would be. Right. So we want it to be a little bit, something that you have to try for a little bit, or it would be too easy. Right.
Well, there's nothing wrong with the other strategies, wholesale, private listings, whatever. No. The reality is that once we understand the rules of building a replens list, which includes selling less units of more ASINs, in other words, inch deep, mile wide.
Right.
And by the way, we've seen no exceptions to this rule.
I have never seen an exception to this rule.
Okay. Not only will we have a phenomenal replens business, but we'll have a skill set that will propel us into the next layers of whatever it is that we're going to do that we never thought was possible when we first started out and we couldn't identify a test-worthy ASIN.
True. That's very true. And I just want to clarify what we're saying when we haven't seen this work. When you're building your foundation, as you know, we talk about when you're building your first 75 or 100 replens ASINs on your replens list, that's your foundation. That's what we're talking about. I have not seen anyone be able to go build 100 deep rather than 100 wide and be successful and build that strong foundation.
One thing, becomes a single point of failure.
Right.
Once
your business gets large enough, deep is relative.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So what we don't want to see happen is that you have a single point of failure. Everything is on that one ASIN, and something happens to that ASIN. That's going to hurt really bad.
And the reason I wanted to chat about this is because we get to the feedback. I'll see it posted like, oh, this is a lot of work. Is it really worth it? I'm only going to sell 4 units a month of this.
Yeah.
Right. It's sure. It's 56% ROI or it's 68% ROI, but I'm only selling 4 or 6 units a month of that.
Yes.
That's the point, right?
That's the point.
It's not about selling 40 units a month of an ASIN in a replens business.
Right.
You may get to that point on any particular ASIN, but that takes months to build up to that.
I love the ones that are 4 or 6 units a month because I can handle those. Walmart has that many on the shelf. I don't have to go looking across the world to get them. I can keep those rolling nice and easy, and I can get 20 or 30 of those. And it's easy for my shoppers to do. But remember, we're not in our first 7,500 ASINs.
Right.
When we are building that and we're working with people who are building that, that's more and more important, because if something happens and you only have 10 ASINs, something happens to one of those, it's going to hurt. But if something happens to one that you are, one that you're not deep in, if three or four, and you only have 10 or 20, it's not going to hurt as bad.
Well, and think about the long-term stability of your business. Why do I'm going to plant that seed out? The long-term stability of your business. Why do we gravitate towards, selling more units of fewer ASINs? This is because there's a level of difficulty, perceived level of difficulty. There's the sourcing level of difficulty, which in the beginning seems very high. And it's
a difficult in the beginning.
Well, I mean, it is. It's not seeming. It's not seeming that that's the reality.
Sorry,
it is the reality.
We get that. Yes.
And so the difficulty of shopping, prepping, and shipping fewer items or fewer different types of items, or I should say this, the difficulty of prepping, shipping, shopping, all that, of more items also seems a level of difficulty. But so it seems easier to bring that one down. I don't have to source as much, which is painful for me. So I'm just going to buy more units of the ASINs that I already have.
Right.
Well, then what happens? And this is human nature, right? We look for the path of least resistance.
Exactly. And we're looking for efficiencies.
And the reality
it's not the wrong thing to do.
Exactly. And it is easier to prep, one ASIN that has 40 units than it is to prep 5 units of 8 different ASINs. Right. But if you do it, if you can power through until you get to that, until you're an expert at finding test-worthy ASINs.
Yes.
Okay. Then you can train someone else to do that. And then you become the quality checker of this list of ASINs that someone else has gone and found because you trained them how to do that.
Then all of a sudden you're able to do those ones that are a little more difficult, but it's not any more work for you.
Yes. And then that's a portion of your business that you will have outsourced.
Yes.
And then you'll actually, if you want to scale this business, and not everyone needs to get to this level, but if you want to scale your business and outsource your prep and ship, whether that's, your teenage kids, people in the neighborhood, a prep center, an official like prep center service, once you get to that point, they don't care. And you don't care how many units of how many different ASINs are being prepped and shipped.
They don't.
Right. So it's the early stages of the early stages of challenge, or however, whatever it was I meant to say on that. Right. The early days where it seems challenging, but eventually that works itself out.
It does. And it becomes a good thing that you have a little more complexity in there. All of a sudden you're happy that there's a little more complexity because your people will do it. They don't care.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it anymore. And other people won't do it. Those are the ones that you can capitalize on when you build that up. But you have to have a strong foundation in order for that to work. So build that foundation, do what it takes to get there. I mean, we're talking months. We're not talking years. If you can be consistent, then it can be months before, just a few months before you're able to have someone else do that or start helping you do that and outsource that so that you can then add those other strategies to your business or go on vacation more or whatever your goals are, right?
Or just
send your kids to college.
Just have the business as it is, as a stream of income.
Yes, then you can start building other streams of income.
Not everyone needs to have a $5 million a year business.
Right.
You can,
not all in one business.
Right. You can have a nice replens business that generates you, 5 or 6 figures a year of profit and outsource it. And that's just a stream of income. And then you can go make another one.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So
I think this community is all about streams of income.
absolutely. I just like to point out, we
Multiple
hear
streams of income.
Yeah, I think that we see a lot of, and maybe there's a vision, maybe it's just in my own head
There are
that,
a few things
hey,
that are
I'm
mixed in
gonna
your head.
I'm gonna build this, 7, 8, 9-figure Amazon business, and
Mhm.
and this is actually a goal of ours too, right? To build this business, sell out,
Mhm.
take the payday, and go do something else. Maybe
Right.
it's starting another business. Maybe an Amazon
Someday we
business.
may do that. In the meantime, we are building other streams of income
Right.
because we don't want to have a single point of failure.
Mhm.
However, we built our foundation already. Now we're building foundations on other businesses so that foundation is there. It's strong. We had to focus on that, do that. Jim calls it intense focused effort
Mhm.
in order to get there where we could do it. And it was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of really hard work and long hours to get that built. But we're reaping the rewards now.
You're right. And
I'm glad we did it.
There are still some days it's hard work. We got some news
There
over the
are.
last couple of weeks that we had a
Yes,
similar
we have to pivot.
situation last Q4 where we had to pivot because one part of our
One of our suppliers.
is just supply chain challenges all over again. Like it was like right in the heat of the pandemic, and
Yes.
it's not. But
they're responding like it is, so
Right.
we have to pivot.
So there are always pivots going on,
Sure.
and this just the lesson for us was that we're not diverse enough in our own business,
Right.
right? Otherwise,
it wouldn't hurt so.
It wouldn't hurt so bad.
Yes. Most everything that we talk about, ask us how we know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Speaking
that's
of,
okay. We're not perfect, and I don't think anybody expects us to be perfect. But
no.
we have seen a few things though.
Mhm. Yes. Speaking of,
Mhm.
okay, so I saw this quote. I apologize. I cannot remember where I saw it. I wrote it down, but did not attribute. I wrote it down after the fact because it impacted me when I read it. But it's this: this country is built on second acts.
Mhm.
And very quickly, just to give some substance to that, like without getting into a lot of detail, we love the comeback stories as an American people.
Yes.
As a world, as a people.
I think, as a people
I think
in
as a
general,
people, we love the comeback stories, right?
Yeah.
It's especially prolific in the sports, but it also applies in business.
Yes.
Apple is a great comeback story, right? From a business perspective.
Sure.
We've got like Muhammad Ali and Holyfield and
Mhm.
those guys in the boxing ring and Tiger Woods. And,
Mhm.
people love a good comeback story. The ones you just fall flat on your face, you're completely decimated. There's nothing good that's happening. And you have to pick yourself up and dust yourself off.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
go
do
again.
it again. For us in this business, it's not necessarily about, getting totally decimated like I'm talking about, but a second act can be like just a second part of our career, second part of our life or whatever. And I think that
we've had a few acts. This might be, you might consider it the way, depending on how you look at it, our seventh or eighth act. Because we've had a few businesses and different kinds of businesses. This is the one that's really working for us, though, and helping us to be able to then expand our streams of income as well.
The point of this for me was that you don't have to have failed, but your second act can be starting an additional stream of income. And this business certainly is that opportunity.
Yes.
Right? It certainly is for us.
Yes.
Right? That we can. Now there's a lesson that we've learned is we can always start over.
Yes.
We can always start something new as well. You don't have to fail to start something new.
That's right. That's right. We've learned a lot. We've learned how to pivot. We've learned, over life, a lot of things, and we're starting to just appreciate what we've learned and be able to share that with other people. That's our goal, is to share the things that we've found that have shown us success with other people.
Yep. And that starts with this and the individual people that we work with in the coaching program. Love talking about that because it is custom and it's not just like this workbook that you paid money for and a coach guides you through that workbook. No, this is a very custom approach. And we like to point out some of the common places that people struggle. We talked about many of those in the past, and the one we talked about tonight was going too deep too soon.
Right. And one of the reasons we like to talk about that and share those things with you is because when you're the person being coached, we know because we've been in that place, you don't really know how it's working for everyone else, and that everyone else has those same struggles because you don't see other people like we see. We see lots of people, and there are some commonalities that we want to share with you, so you know you're not alone. This is normal for people to feel like it's really, really hard in the beginning. It's supposed to be. That's normal.
Right.
That's not unusual. So embrace that, get through it, and it'll get better. We've seen it happen over and over and over.
Yes. Persevere. When you have the failure is not an option approach.
Yes.
Right.
You definitely had the failure is not an option approach when you started the first FBA business.
Well, it was interesting. And we were chatting a little bit about this before that, when we agreed to set up our life in such a way that was going to make sure there were no excuses why this business didn't work.
Yes.
Right. And it was a failure is not an option approach very much for me until before you got involved.
Yes. And I remember you would go to work all day and you would come home and you go lock yourself in the office for 3 hours. And then you'd come out and I would say, I don't know what you're looking for, but did you find anything? You say, no, I didn't. No. And you just kept doing it. And then suddenly you started.
Well, no. And then suddenly what happened was perspective change happened in life, right?
Yes.
You had a stroke.
Yes.
It turned our world
hemorrhagic stroke
upside down.
That was a big deal. That was a big, scary moment in our lives.
It could have been an opportunity for me to fold up shop.
Yes. I was quite impressed that you were able to persevere in spite of all that, because I know that impacted your life.
Well, the thing that came out of it was the one thing that became abundantly clear throughout that situation was that failure was absolutely not an option, because I didn't want to be reliant on, the systems, the things that we had in our, day jobs, the insurance and all that kind of stuff.
Somebody had to tell us what kind of healthcare
they have to approve things. They have to all these things. Like, no, I just want to pay cash.
Yeah.
Right.
We want to have the choices to be able to say, this is what needs to happen.
Right. So for me, living through the experience, and there was a certain level of guilt that, and I don't know if I've ever shared that with you, of me continuing to do that in spite of what happened. But like I say, it was if anything.
I'm so glad that you were able to find that in yourself, because I know you were devastated. It was, I would wake up at night and he'd be looking at me to make sure I was breathing. It was quite a time really in our lives, but I'm quite impressed that you were able to keep moving forward. And I never, ever felt that you weren't there for me during that time.
Well, it's interesting. Sometimes I feel like a gesture needs to be made to demonstrate how impactful that situation is. And that's why it could be easy the gesture could be, you know what, I'm going to shut down the business. I'm going to focus on, my job and making sure we get better insurance and I get a better paying job and all this stuff. In this case, the gesture was drawing a line in the sand and saying, never again. Is that going to be a thing? Right. And the business is going to help me ensure that doesn't happen.
Yeah. I'll tell you, if you guys don't know how much or why I love this man.
All right. That's enough of that.
Okay.
Yeah. So
sappy, but we do love each other.
We do. Okay.
And,
so we were talking about the pivot.
Yes.
So when your supplier runs into supply chain problems, you know what solves that problem?
More ASINs.
More ASINs. So we got to get busy. We got to get some more ASINs.
We got to go get some more ASINs.
We'll talk to y'all soon.
Like you do. Take care.
Bye-bye. Talk to you later.
Hey, before I let you go, I've got a guest today, like we've been doing once a week or so around here. Mr. Jeff Schick is joining us again. He's got a great topic for us. What's on your mind today, Jeff?
Well, I want to talk about storage space today. So a lot of sellers have been reporting that their storage limits got cut by Amazon for FBA. And I just, wanted to talk about, ways we can mitigate the challenge that poses, some alternative options. And then, of course, for sellers that need more storage space, how you can go about getting some more storage space as well. So,
okay. So for the FBA sellers who rely on Amazon to store our inventory in many cases, now this hasn't happened to me. It's happened to a couple coaches on our team and a few people have reported it. I think one of our coaches lost almost half their storage space where Amazon said, hey, you've only got half as much space as you had yesterday. Sorry. So what's causing this? And more importantly, what do we do about it?
Absolutely. So I think, number one, what's causing it is staffing issues. Amazon is over, in a sense, they're understaffed and overpromised for the holiday season. And so they're in, I guess like fireman mode right now, trying to put out this massive dumpster fire of not having enough people to work in their warehouses. So they have tons of products flowing in every single day, tons of orders coming in every single day, and not enough people and robots to ship the orders out. So we've got, a massive logistical challenge that Amazon's trying to solve. And what we're seeing now is one way they're solving it is they're putting storage limits on, because if you have, 5,000 square feet of storage devoted to one seller who uses all of it, then it means that another seller can't get 500 square feet if they've already maxed it. So they're reducing some sellers dramatically. Some sellers are not affected at all. It really just seems to be all across the board.
It's a little random almost in its application, huh?
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen some massive sellers lose their storage space, which tells me that perhaps they're trying to equalize the playing field. It might be the case, but of course, it's Amazon. Who knows what the rationale is behind the
Sure. Typically, it's numbers driven if you drill down, and it's customer service driven if you really drill down. But it feels kind of random on the playing field for third party sellers right now.
Absolutely.
So, what are you advising sellers to do? How do you prevent it if that's possible? And what are our options to absorb the blow if it does happen?
So preventing it, unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be any good option for preventing it. It's numbers driven, like you said. So Amazon is making those decisions and letting you know after they've made it. So there's really not a great solution there for it. But in terms of how to mitigate the effect on your business, that's where we can really shine. And so sellers that are quick to pivot are the ones that can benefit the most from it. And so let's talk about what that looks like. So Jim, when I was talking to you about this earlier, a little while ago, you had a great idea. You said FBM, and
right. Merchant fulfill, baby. Just like when COVID struck, those of us who are prepared to use our garage or hire a friend or find some local storage space and list product as merchant fulfill,
right,
cleaned up.
Absolutely.
And I think we're going to see the same thing as a result of this.
I think so. So anyone who is eligible to ship merchant fulfilled, now keep in mind, during holiday season, they sometimes don't let newer sellers use merchant fulfilled.
Right.
I can't remember what the deadline is this year. We may have already passed it, but if we haven't passed it yet, there is if you get a certain number of orders in merchant fulfilled before the deadline, you get to merchant fulfill during Q4. And it's absolutely worth your while, even if that means going out and buying, I think 1 year it was 50 units. Go out and buy 50 units of something at the dollar store, put it for sale for 25 cents if you have to.
Yes.
Obviously, you notice I just said we're losing money on every sale. If you buy it for $1 and you sell it for 25 cents, there's no profit there.
Yeah. But you qualified now to fulfill your own orders. Correct. Like eBay sellers have to do year round, right? You're as orders come in, you're fulfilling it. You could use a prep center, you could use your garage, you can use a single mom across the street, but fulfill your own orders.
Absolutely. So fulfillment by merchant, that's step one for mitigation if you can do it. One thing that a lot of sellers forget about, and I'm guilty, I forget about it too, you are allowed to have an FBA offer and an FBM offer on the same listing.
Absolutely.
Means, like if you have, let's say you bought 10 pairs of Nike sneakers at the store, and you don't have enough storage space for footwear to send in all 10 pairs. Well, maybe you send in 3 and keep 7. 3 FBA off, 3 go in as an FBA offer. You open up a secondary offer for merchant fulfilled for your quantity of 7, by all means, put them there. Here's another tip you can use. You bought 10 sneakers. The day you buy them at the store, you have 10 available. The day UPS picks up those 3, you've got 7. Because what if someone comes in and orders 10 pairs for their entire school team between when you bought it at the store and when Amazon picks it up? Sell it FBM, ship it out, and then you've got 3 pairs of sneakers for something else.
So part of the beauty of FBM, merchant fulfill, is you could be standing in store checking out your inventory. Those 10 pairs of sneakers, you're standing there checking out at a retail store, and you list them merchant fulfill, and they sell before you even pay for them at the register. We hear stories like that. You can't do that with FBA, where it takes a week or two, and Q4 it could take 3 or 4 weeks sometimes for it to get listed and available in the system. So you're making sales a lot faster too. So it's very healthy to integrate merchant fulfill, and that is a great way to pivot if you find yourself. And for those of us who sell in the hazmat category, I mean, I don't know of anybody that's got a huge hazmat storage space. We're playing with this little tiny square, I don't remember what it was, a couple hundred square foot. Not even it's tiny. I remember what it is, cubic feet or whatever. But it's about $500 to $1,000 worth of product at a time. That's all we can sit in there.
Yeah.
And we sell a ton of this stuff, but we're limited. So we do merchant fulfill a lot of it.
Right. Now, so that's one option. Option two is just-in-time fulfillment. Now, just-in-time fulfillment is believe it or not, a Toyota concept. They're the ones that innovated it. And it's the idea that you send in inventory in smaller numbers and increased frequency.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have those 10 sneakers and you don't want to use up all 10, maybe you only have a limit of 10 sneakers. Well, we're not going to send, and we've got 10, let's assume we've got 100 pairs of sneakers with 10 different styles, 10 different ASINs, and 10 of each. Well, your options are you could send in all 10 of one ASIN, but now you've got 90 sneakers that are not selling. Or you could send in one of each ASIN and then have 9 of each to fill. And as those sell, you just keep sending in, every single day, grab another pair of sneakers, ship it into FBA. Obviously, it's not your most cost-effective option, but it's better than having inventory sit on the shelf and not sell at all. It's also better than not selling a period. So
yeah, it's better to consistently trickle in inventory than it is to send a big load of it and it sits in Amazon's warehouse. They're going to typically punish you for that over time with, not just with the storage fees, with potentially with lower storage space available to you. Right. Now, you were telling me you're hearing from some sellers who are able to buy more space. Talk me through that.
So there have been some reports of sellers reaching out to seller support and saying, I need more space, and then being redirected to a buy more inventory space page. I do not know if that's available to every seller or if it's only available to certain sellers, but I know that there are some sellers that have successfully bought more. It doesn't come cheap. It's Amazon is, because I guess in Amazon's eyes, if you're going to buy more storage space from them, you're taking away storage space from other sellers that they're getting for free. So
right,
they're going to make you pay that premium for it. But for sellers that have the margins and have the volume to support it, it makes a heck of a lot of sense because, if you have to pay Amazon an extra $1, but you can make $10, then obviously we've netted. Now, if you're having to pay Amazon $10 to make $1, that's not a smart trade. So everyone has to evaluate that option in light of their.
It's a math decision. Yeah. Right. Especially around Q4. If you've got a lot of fast moving inventory, it may make sense to investigate that option. Well, I think we've given folks some good options to investigate. And if they want to talk about this more with you or any kind of legal issues or challenges with their account, how can they do that?
Absolutely. So you can go to my website, you can sign up for our retainer and then schedule an unlimited number of calls with me or my team. Everyone on our team has experience selling on Amazon, and we all have legal experience as well. So you have the added bonus. You can bring legal questions, you can bring e-commerce questions, and we're happy to help. So jeffschick.com, $89 a month. And that, covers you against all of your account health and other legal challenges that your business faces.
And we'll stick a link in the show notes to that as well for those who are kind of guessing how to spell Schick right now. SCHICK, right?
It's all just like the razor blade, but
exactly.
I don't
Hey, that's great. I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah.
So,
all right, buddy. Well, we'll do this again real soon. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you,
my friend. Bye then.